So, Danny, my birthday was recently.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm 23, very old.
It's pretty old.
I know. It's
23 is a weird birthday, though, right? Like, it's like,
Right.
did you feel like it's not 21, right? So that's like a celebration.
Yeah,
25,
25.
you get car insurance knockoffs, right?
Really? 26. Well,
26.
that's exciting. But here's the thing. 23 was my golden birthday because my birthday's October 23rd.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for that since kindergarten when freaking Chad turned 7 on the 7th and my teacher lost her shit about it. Sorry. She was like, it's his golden birthday. And I was like, I have to wait till I'm 23. And then it finally happened.
Try being 2 on your golden birthday. No fun there.
At least it's not like the anticipation though. Like that was brutal. I was like, I'll never be 23.
Yeah.
And now I am.
I feel like a bad father right now because we did nothing for Knox's golden birthday, which is 7.
It's not that big of a deal. It's just that my kindergarten wound made it a big deal to me.
Yeah, I think it's only big if you're in your 20s.
It's only big if you saw someone get it celebrated and you were like, dang.
That's deep.
But anyway, I actually kind of had a rough birthday because I just was like, I'm deconstructing. I don't know if you knew that.
Just found out.
But so I'm like a big words of affirmation person. So my favorite part of my birthday is always like the text of like, you're great. I'm thankful you're alive. And I'm like, oh. Like that's always my favorite part. And so I always get excited for that. But so many of the texts that I got this year were like, happy birthday. Like, I know you're in a hard place, but like excited for you to like find God again, or like, like don't worry, like God still loves you. like for real.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating, but it's so interesting because it's like, it was twofold. And maybe I was just in an emotional place. I don't know. But like part of me was frustrated with the people from like my past church life who were saying those things. Because I was like, can you just say you're thankful for me? Like, why does this have to be? I get that it's important to you, but like, it's my birthday. Like, I don't know. But at the same time, it was also really sad to like the people that I usually hear from that I like didn't hear from that year, because it's like,
yeah. Well, that was my question. Like, what? Also, I am currently having an existential crisis, trying to recollect what I texted you on your birthday.
You just said, "Hey, I think you're awesome. Happy birthday."
Oh, thank God.
And so, really, it was mostly Danny.
It was mostly Danny. But how many of the people were?
You said something really nice.
How many people were on the periphery, and like people that were like, how many people were really close to you that said those things, and how many were people like you said from your old life? Like currently really close to
No one currently very close to me said that, because I think they would all know that would not be helpful.
Yeah. That's encouraging.
Yeah, that is encouraging. But it's just like, it's so weird to like, it was just reckoning with the fact that I really think a lot of people view me so differently now. Not that people, I think sometimes also though, we can get in like our main character energy and think like everyone's thinking about us all the time, which is so not true. But it's like, I know that like my mom has received emails and messages and comments of like, we're so worried about Emily.
Yeah.
Because of things like this podcast and things like that. And so it's like, people are talking and people are coming to me and saying like, just don't lose sight of God in this, like, or whatever. And I'm just like, can you trust me a little bit?
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things I thought, like, the main character energy type thing, because I do think that it sounds like a lot of these people are occupying a lot, or you are occupying at least, maybe not 50% or 20, but you're occupying a pretty interesting and prevalent space in their thought, if like that was the response that they sent on your birthday, rather than just being like, hey, happy birthday. Especially like, I think about the people that I met. I have a hard time remembering to message people happy birthday.
Yeah.
So to then remember and then be like, you know what I want to talk to you about on your birthday?
Right, it's my birthday.
Yeah, it's an interesting move. Like, I don't think I would ever do that even for people I really care about. And I would just say, like, I don't think that you're in a place where I would need to be like, hey, I really hope you come back or whatever. I don't know that I would say it. But to think if someone had like a major loss or something like that or whatever, like say someone lost a father a year ago, I don't think I'd say, hey, happy birthday, sorry about your dad. Like, that would be a weird message.
Yes. why are you bringing it up? Like,
Yeah.
other than to remind me. And I also want to say and admit that, like, I very much have a, like, schema, like a shame schema of, like, I will hang on to the bits and pieces that make me feel crappy. So I'm working on that. But, like, but, like, what I'm saying is, like, I get that the way I heard it may not be how they were saying it. However, it's just, like, what it felt like is, here, I'm extending this olive branch to you, but we can, like, fully be in relationship again when you get back on our page.
Yeah, that's what you think they're saying, kind of.
It's kind of how I heard it, even if they didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, so, like, from your perspective, say, you know, those people do care about you, because even that we've talked about this before, like, obviously we might say it's misguided.
Yeah.
Word choice and how they're caring for you, but at the core, they would say they're caring for you.
Absolutely.
So from where you sit, just on a deeply personal, like, what would have been the most caring thing they could have done in that moment?
I just, like, so there was I got one message from a lady who, like, I knew from a past church experience, and she's made some comments other times about, like, oh, that's not how I see things, which is fine. But like, on my birthday, she just texted me, like, happy birthday, I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And I was just like, that is all, like, thank you. Like, I was like, I know that there are other things on your mind about me, but I so appreciate that you didn't feel the need to bring that up.
So this is someone that would, like, sit in this camp of, like, they're maybe worried about you in some ways. Okay.
I mean, I know that she is, but, like, for her to refrain from saying that and just remind me that she's thankful for me.
I'm proud of you.
Is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it meant so much. Like, it's this thing of, like, I feel like sometimes evangelism culture becomes this, like, any opportunity you can find. Yeah. Like, it felt like people were like, oh, well, maybe her birthday is coming up and then I can text her about how I'm feeling about her faith journey. This feels very narcissistic to even talk about, because I feel like I'm saying everyone's just thinking about me all the time.
No, I think it's an interesting, like, I think it's important for you. Yeah. But also for our audience. Like, you're probably not the only one. I mean, I can think of some people that I know listen regularly that probably have similar type things happening. And so it's probably helpful to process it, at least from your vantage point. But what I do think about, you've talked about this before, in the idea that, like, you don't owe anyone your story, right? And but I wonder and question how much of your actual story any of these people know, and not just what they're consuming from afar, right? Like, they're like, well, I've heard you have a podcast. Have they ever listened to an episode? That'd be an interesting thing to ask. I heard you're going to this church that concerns them and that you're preaching, but have they ever listened to a sermon or ever heard anything about that church? Like, I just wonder, like, the questions, and I have more of a connectedness to your story, but there's things I probably don't even know that are, like, swirling on, right? But I know some more of the questions that you're asking. And, like, I wonder how many of those people actually know the deep, intimate things that you're even wrestling with, and just, like, are watching on the outside and then building the story of what they think is happening.
Yeah, because you get little snippets from social media or from other things, and then you're like, oh, well, Emily must be in this exact place and must be a complete atheist and hate everyone and everything. But it's like, and I know that we keep going back to this, but, like, I do try to remember the fact that to these people, it's an eternity situation. I really do try to, like, hold on to that, because when I get really frustrated, I remember, like, classic, I may have already shared this on here, but like, I was talking to my mom about how I have another friend who's kind of deconstructing, and she was talking to that friend's parents. And so it was like parent talk about their deconstructing kids. And I was like, yeah, that friend has expressed that he feels whenever his parents hear about his deconstruction, he feels like they're picturing him in the lake of fire. Yeah. I did share this.
No.
Okay. And I told my mom that, and I was like, yeah, like, that would be really heavy. And she said, but isn't that the appropriate response? And so it was like, oh, okay. Like, she was like, that's the concern. And I was like, okay, that's fair. I don't agree with that concern, but that would be so heavy as a parent or as someone who cares about me.
Yeah, I think you haven't told that story, but I know that we've talked about that concept that like
Uh-huh.
people really do. What's driving is their thoughts on your eternal salvation. Here's an interesting thing to consider, and I've wondered this, is because you were the poster child for Reformed theology, especially as a woman in that space. Like you held a place of as much privilege and power as you could have. But I wonder how many of them are feeling an insecurity about their own faith, of watching them see you go to a place they never thought possible for you, probably. And they're questioning for themselves. Like, I bet you more people are sympathetic to some of the thoughts you have and would maybe agree with you inside and maybe wouldn't verbalize that. But I wonder how much of it is a fear for your salvation. I would say that's part of it, but also a fear of they're not ready to walk that journey yet, and they're watching you do it. And if they're wondering if they're going to get there, and then they're painting it from a negative place, right? They see it as more negative maybe than positive, and they're wondering like if they're going to end up there. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I heard someone say one time that it sometimes seems like the like evangelism efforts get more intense the more you start doubting, because you're like, I just need to see other people get on board, and then I'll remember why I got on board.
Yeah.
And so I think that might be part of it, because like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was definitely the last person anyone would have ever expected to go through this.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure that is heavy and weird to watch.
Yeah.
But just like, this is the thing. As I was talking to someone who was like raised in like a very abusive, very Christian home, and they were saying like, it's hard for me because when I hear I don't like something, I hear I don't like you. Like, so if it's like, I don't like your shirt, then you hear I don't like you. And I was like,
Dustin designed the shirt, so you don't like Dustin. Jordan designed.
And what am I saying?
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I'm so glad we could just have a little ad in the middle of that. No, so the thing is I got it. I was saying, I think that's part of it, is the like, because I struggle with that too. If like someone says like, I don't like, someone told me they didn't like my key ring, and I was like, you hate me. Like, it was so random. And I was like, that's frustrating that I make that connection.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's much bigger than that. I don't think it's, I don't like this, so I don't like you. I think it's, I don't agree with you, so you don't belong. It is when someone disagrees with me, I feel complete rejection because I'm out of the group. Yeah. Like, that is, to me, that is what's so harmful about evangelicalism. I don't know, like, just because it's, your belonging is based on agreeing.
Yeah, right actions, right beliefs, like what they've deemed to be that is how you belong. And
Is
you're
how
never really
you
a part
belong.
of it until you do those things.
So when people say, Emily, I just wish that you would get to a better place, what I hear is, it's such a bummer you don't belong anymore.
Right. Because you would, like, you haven't, or maybe wouldn't sever friendships with any of these people. Like, you're like, our friendship could still be thriving, but for them, their friendship, they're not good friends unless they're trying to bring you back in.
Yeah, that is the perfect way to say it. Because I was like, I love these people and I want them in my life, but it's so exhausting to feel proselytized to every time we hang out. And also, like, I'm not quite sure I know what we would talk about.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about too. Like, I remember there are friends that I had at some of the places I've worked at before, and then we hung out after me not working there, and we were like, well, what do we talk about like now? Because what we used to talk about was our work we did together.
Absolutely.
And then it's hard, and similar in that situation, right? It's like, for you, you were like, I mean, self-proclaimed, you were really invested in your faith in that space. And so, like, I mean, you had remember the Google Doc, the color-coded one of theological topics, right? Like, you were going through and you were doing that.
Absolutely.
So I bet you, like, non-ironically faith was a just natural part of your conversation that you didn't have to work into it.
I'm gonna say usually I wasn't like annoying about it. Like normally, like I surrounded myself with people that also wanted to have those conversations. But to think about, for example, like I have a friend who is getting married, and she is like, which is so exciting. But I didn't really know, like we got dinner to like catch up, but it was so interesting because like she was like, I'm just so excited to like submit to him. And I was like, I don't really feel this anymore. Like a few years ago, I would have been like, good for you, girl. Like just like, but like that part is weird. Like I don't know how to engage as my true self because I know in those moments what they're wanting to talk to old Emily, who would just be like, love that you found a good spiritual leader, girl.
Yeah. And maybe that's what they want at the best, but even at the minimal, they hope that you'll like slide back into a persona of that probably when you're at that wedding or you're in those spaces, right? Like that's our thing about, and I've talked with this about Sadie and Jared a few times who go to church, right? They've gone back to weddings with old former classmates that know them, or like people from their old life that know them in a theologically certain way. Yeah. And it's like somewhat shattering. Like, do I fall back into this old thing? Am I confident enough to just like be like, this is who I am now? I even have that when I go back to Oregon and visit. Like I've been now gone for 7 years and I've changed a lot. And like, who am I when I go back into that space, Because
I get that. But part of it is because everyone wants it to be a phase.
Yeah.
And so that is and sometimes that feels invalidating. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to shift, but like I'm just kind of speaking like sometimes that feels invalidating. Like I feel like right now I feel like I'm being like, it's not a phase, Mom. But it's like maybe this is a real journey and maybe I won't be right here forever, but it is where I'm at right now. And please don't mark this off as like my off time until I come back to agree with you. I'm over that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a comment. You've said that before in different ways, right? Like there is a sense from whether it's family or friends or people. And I've been guilty of at least using the language of talking about it like that before. I don't know that I mean it necessarily like that, but using it as this is a stepping stone or a phase or a place. And it's like you said very well, you may not be exactly where you are forever, but this isn't just phase 2 of 10, right?
But it also isn't my psycho time until I go back to Presbyterianism.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me. Like
Rumspringa.
Yeah. Like please don't say it. Please don't think about it like that. I'm doing really hard work right now.
I've never thought about it like that, but that's an interesting thing to think about because now I'm like that is kind of how they view it in 100%. Some ways. It's like you're going away and experiencing the world until you realize how not fulfilling it is and come back to the tribe.
And can I be super honest? Sometimes I wonder if that will happen.
Well, interesting. That was the least expected thing you could have said.
I don't want it to.
Yeah.
But I get a little nervous. So this is I'm a big book person.
No kidding.
And I have a massive stack of like Presbyterian books in my car right now that I'm going to take to Half Price Books. So if you're in the market.
Oh, to sell, not to you're
sell.
Not buy. Okay.
And I packed them up last night and that was very emotional for me. Like very like, it felt like a very permanent change because I felt like they were sitting on my shelf like waiting for me to get back to them. But I really don't want to. And I'm also like, if it happens, I can just buy it again. But like.
How frivolous.
Oh, I'm very frugal. I exclusively shop through thrift books, which every book is $3.79.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So say this is like your Rumspringa and you're away, you're doing your thing. Like what would be like what would you, because you said maybe this is that, what would be compelling and draw you back to that? Like if you still hold a place in your mind where like maybe it is that means not necessarily that you're hoping it is or that you will, but what would be driving the thought that you could have something to go back to?
This is going to sound really weird. I don't actually think that it's something that I think is maybe true. It's just something that I'm worried I could get sucked back into because, I mean, what would suck me back in is certainty. in a very black and white, very systematic theology.
Yeah.
I really don't think that's going to happen, but it is weird because for so long I would have said about people, oh, well, just like they'll just have this twinge, this like longing for God, that the God-shaped hole in their hearts like can't be filled through anything else, and they're trying to fill it with other things until they just can't, and then they'll come back to the truth. Like, I said that all the time. I was this person. That's the other thing. That's the other thing, dude. I'm sure I would have been this freaking person who I'm a little bit cool. I don't think I would text someone like, come back to God.
Yeah. Have you done anything like that? Like,
But I'm thinking of, no.
You just talked to them in person about it?
Yeah, and prayed for them. But it's like, but that's the other thing. Is like, I was reading my old prayer journals the other day, and it's all like dark place to go to. But because it's just like, God, I suck so much. Like we should just read those one day and on this podcast. But but like I was praying, just like, God, just please help them see that you're the only way to actually have any happiness and any certainty. Like blah 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 blah. And so it's like and sometimes people just send me articles that is just like, how to reconcile back to God. That did happen. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like things like that. Like that is a lot. But I'm sure I would have done something like that. And so I can't even be that mad, because I get when you're in that place, that's what you think. You think that that is the only way to have any happiness and joy.
Yeah.
I feel like this is very incoherent and we're hitting a bunch of different things. I'm just kind of talking what I'm thinking about. I hope that's okay.
Yeah. Apologize to them, not me.
Sorry.
No, I think it's really, again, important in the sense that you're not alone in probably feeling where you're at. I think it's authentic, and this is where you're at. And I think there's a lot of nuance to it. There's a community that you once found a lot of meaning, purpose, joy and belonging from. There's people that because I hear at the core, like, you're asking this, or at least I'm asking myself this, how best can you help those friends care for you? Like, I wonder if they were listening, what would you tell them, like, as the best way to care for you?
Just be a friend to Emily now.
Yeah.
Like, be my friend. I know you probably miss your old friend. Like, I get that. You really thought that what she had to say was awesome. And you probably miss her, and you probably want her back because you loved her. But, like, she is gone. And I'm not going to pretend to be her. So you can either be my friend, and now Emily friend, or figure something out. Not trying to be rude, but just, like, be my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Well, it sounds too
I feel like I said that very eloquently.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I wonder too, like, how much, and this is darker and more cynical, but I wonder how much more, or how much they were friends with Emily, and how much they were friends with that identity of Emily, or the persona that you put on. Like, it sounds like maybe I just question and wonder how great of friends these people would be if they're still wrestling to be your friend.
I get that. And it's not that I don't think it's that they don't want to be my friend, but I do think they want to be my friend to help a sister back to the fold.
Sure.
And I'm just like, you wouldn't, if we met today, you would not want to be my friend.
Yeah.
Damn, that's really sad. But I'm like, that is one of the hardest freaking parts of deconstruction to me, is the fact that, like, you can say all you want, that, like, nothing will change, like, the love that you feel in this church is unconditional, but that just isn't true.
Yeah.
It's unconditional if you agree. And so then you lose everyone. And it's weird. Sometimes, like, I have friends now, like, I'm not like a loner, but, like, sometimes it is weird because, like, I'll talk to people with, like, very established friend groups that they've had since, like, high school. And I'm like, good for you, dude. I had to basically start over.
Yeah.
That is so brutal.
That's hard. Yeah, that's not because of deconstruction, but I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
Like, from the sense that, like, I remember moving to St. Louis from Oregon. It was like, I'm starting over. That was interesting. going through a divorce was interesting. Like there were certain friends that I lost that again, like I was like, oh, we were a couple friends. You weren't Danny's friend. And I think that's an interesting thing to be like starting over. But then to do it in a place that it was something that was so meaningful and formative. And then to look back and like you said, you see all those other people. It's like, because I think that all the time. I live in Webster and my wife grew up in Webster, went to high school, and I look around, it's like you still hang out with all the same people that you hung out with. I mean, she has like other friends. She's
I get that.
got other friends, but like I'm not jealous of it or mad about it. I long for that kind of connection.
100%.
And I hear you saying kind of the same thing.
And it makes me feel like I just need to tell people like I'm not like a bad person or like hard to get along with. Like it's not that I'm like,
yeah, you have to put a disclaimer.
Well, like I just feel like it seems like, because I saw a TikTok today that was like you know, like the real way to judge, like if you're dating someone, like you should just see how many friends they have and how good of friends they have. And I was like, but sometimes people go through really intense things and have to start over.
Yeah.
And that I'm not saying I don't have friends, but it's like, but it's just different.
I felt like before this started, you had 2 friends in this room with you.
So total, I have 2 friends.
That's interesting. There's a movie called, I think it's called I Love You, Man. It's got
Such
Paul
a good
Rudd.
movie.
Yeah, and like one of the red flags is he doesn't have any real friends. But I remember when I met Annie, like I had gone through a pretty big transition, and I like watched that movie one night, and I was like, oh shit, I might be the Paul Rudd in this situation, and I wonder like what she's gonna think about that. And it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, sorry, that was. Yeah.
Well, I think you're a little right, and not in a bad way. We've been a little bit all over the place. We've hit a lot, but I think maybe winding us down, like if you were gonna leave, not the people listening or watching with something, but like what would you leave yourself with as like an encouragement from this?
Aww. Emily, you are worthy of being loved and valued and appreciated as you are right now in this space. And you do not have to wait to have everything figured out in order to again have belonging.
That's great.
Yeah. What would you say to Emily?
I would say to you and to anyone like else, but I specifically you, I think like you do belong, and like we have different areas that we overlap in life. And what I would just encourage you is like, I'm your friend without an agenda or like a buy-in. Like if we stopped this podcast today, or you stopped attending the well, or any of the other places we overlap, I think we would still be friends. And I think that's what I would say to you is like your value extends far past what you produce or what you buy in to do or any of that kind of stuff. And I think for you personally, I would say that to you as your friend, but for anyone listening to, I think that's an important thing to know is like, if there are people that your value is based on only what you output, they might not be your real friends. And I was thinking about even in my own life there, because from your perspective, and this is maybe an evangelical thing of being like, well, I got to evangelize to these people, right? But like some of my best friends are hardcore atheists or agnostics, and I've had very few conversations about faith with them unless they've brought it up. And because I think I never want them to think, hey, I'm the creepy pastor on the streets. Like, hey, do you have a second to talk about Jesus? But also I want them to understand our friendship as much as I care about them on an eternal level, because I believe we're eternal beings. I just have maybe a different worry than like your parents who view the lake of fire thing, but I do care about them on an eternal level. But I never want them to think that my agenda is just like I'm playing the long game to win them over, because that's not what I'm doing. I want to be their friends.
Oh my God. I thought you were saying you are playing the long game, and I was like,
no, I'm saying I don't want them to think
that. Got it.
But I am playing the long game. If you're watching, no, I'm not. I think, but I think that's the fear of what I hear about some of your, like, it's the long game's more important than your humanity here and now. And as much as we are eternal beings, like, I think God cares about us. And so it's how do we care about people?
I love that.
Yeah. I hope this was cathartic for you. And sorry you had a bad birthday. We didn't really talk about that, but I'm sorry you had a bad birthday.
Oh my God. It's okay. It ended well. I just had to cry for a little bit. It's okay. Sometimes that's how birthdays go.
That's how birthday goes.
Well, I'm really glad we had this discussion. I think it was helpful, and I hope it's helpful to other people.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening, and embrace the journey.